incredible details that get published. 10 tips for photographers by Jeannie Savage of Details Details. So here's how this went. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Jeannie is a good friend of ours, and of the studio, and I called her up and I said, Jeannie, I want to know, like, what are the top 10 things that you would tell photographers out there as far as why you're not using their images when it comes to social media and marketing and all that kind of stuff? Like, give me the reasons why. So, Jeannie's incredibly talented. She runs Details Details, which is one of the highest end coordination and event design companies in LA, kind of a company that most aspire to be. So she has a lot of experience with crazy setups. In fact, our biggest budget wedding ever, about a $5 million wedding, was done with Jeannie. And that was the one where John Legend performed. It was a crazy setup. So she, I know, is very particular about her look, her brand, everything. And I couldn't think of anyone better to kind of bring in to basically interview for this piece.
Yeah.
So these are her tips. So you'll find that a lot of them will mirror what we've already talked about. But let's go on to number one. Number one was actually something that I completely didn't even think about. So we often will do invite shots. You see them here.
Yeah.
But what Jeannie said was bring a styling board or props with you, or you can use props on site like linens and textures and those kind of things to style the invites. Now I asked her, Jeannie, how big of a deal is this when it comes to publication from your experience? And she said, from so many publications, they won't even take the wedding unless you have paper goods.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Paper
know that.
goods are a huge thing. I don't get it, but it's huge.
Like stationery and stuff like that, yeah. Interesting.
So regular stationary shots are just not enough. So she has photographers that will actually bring a styling board, like an actual board that they just take to every wedding. They'll pop the stuff on there and shoot it that way.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, well, that's not really our style because we want to be minimalistic.
Yeah.
But I showed her some examples. I'm like, what if I find a linen in the room or like a wood texture? So this is just a wood that I found that was nice in that shooting area. This is just a texture that I found, I think, like a rug or I think it was a couch actually.
Yeah.
That had a nice texture to it. And I'm just incorporating stuff from like the flowers and that kind of stuff. So for these, we want to style it and use small objects, like she said, use small objects like coins to actually get the invites to sit correctly so you don't have shadows. So I was like, oh, that's genius. Like you can actually place a coin underneath something, or you can use a little piece of tack, like sticky tack. We used to put that in our cases for ring shots, right? We use that to be able to tack it down to make sure it's like lays flat and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's unique, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think the average person would ever think that stationery would be
Is
something
that
to
big of a
photograph.
deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of brides ask for it, but most photographers, when they go and shoot it, they're not gonna style it and do something interesting like this.
Yeah.
So for each of these shots, what I'm doing here is I'm just basically opening up the different invites, and I'm gonna kind of create a package view where as soon as you open it, like for example, the first shot, with the RSVP card next to it and the envelope over it, we put the main envelope, we show the inside lining of that envelope, because again, that's another detail that you want to show. And then we would bring some other objects from the wedding around to kind of personalize it and stylize it a bit.
Yeah.
Then we would shoot like the individual pieces. So we take it out and lay it out, and then we shoot the individual fonts. It takes all about 10-15 minutes to do this. With the one on the right, same thing. We open it up, layer it, kind of have the ribbon off the side, incorporate some flowers, similar tones, and then shoot top down to get the shots. So those are going to be a big deal to getting into many publications. You can pretty much guarantee that your bride is going to love it because they lose their invites all the time. They can't find them. Your coordinator's going to love it. The person that created the invites are going to love it. It's a great shot to have.
Yeah, and these are expensive, so make sure you photograph them.
And I should mention before we go on that these two invites were from another one of our coordination friends, actually Agape, who we had these for styled shoots, and I had the time to actually go and stylize the invites. You can have the time to do that on a wedding day too.
Yeah,
I do it all
for
the
sure.
time. I just have these on my computer, so use those. Jeannie, number 2. The reason why I'm not going to use your images is because you didn't help me straighten, you didn't mind the details when you were taking the shots.
Yeah, we talked about this exact example when we were shooting down that row and making sure everything was aligned.
Yeah. She said, I'm not going to use it unless it shows my best. And she said, it's not your job as the photographer to be able to see all those details and to be able to fix everything, but it is your job to let the coordinator know what it is that you're shooting and see if they're happy with it, and they can walk you through the scene. Now, I've worked with these people long enough, and I like to show my photographers, my coordinators, our attention to detail.
Yeah.
So I will help them do these things, but at least asking them, with the primary hero shots, does this capture your vision? Is this good? Is this the way you want your charger set up? So in this shot on the left, the chairs weren't aligned, and you can kind of see like some are a little bit forward, some are a little bit back. On the shot on the right, she went through and kind of aligned everything, got it all ready so I could shoot straight down it, and we have a straight line that basically goes right down the shot. Okay, next. Hard light ceremonies. So she had a couple ideas here. I had a couple ideas here. Her idea was, well, if the timeline permits, shoot the ceremony details after the ceremony. So often, that's just not possible.
No.
Because...
I would say because of the pedals.
Exactly. If they put down runners or pedals and stuff like that, they're gonna get trashed and everything like that. You can still do a wide shot probably and have it be okay. But so many of the details, sometimes it's such a hot day that your flowers just melt. So what we're gonna say is, if you can in the timeline, if it works for the ceremony scene and it works for the timeline to shoot it after, great. If it doesn't, use our tips and techniques that we talked about earlier when you're shooting in hard light. So we're gonna capture the entire dynamic range, and we're gonna show you how to post. So in post-production, you're gonna soften the shadows and soften the overall look, brighten it up and create an airy feel by kind of manipulating the raw file.
Yeah.
When you are shooting this kind of scene, if you're gonna go close up, do use a scrim for like your close-up details if you're not backlit already. Knowing what to remove. So I'm wondering if you can actually see it here. Yeah, actually you can. So right here, let me get my pen. Pen me. So right here, you can actually see the DJ. So know what to remove, from salt and pepper shakers on the table, to the bad table numbers that we discussed earlier, to abandoned vendors. Again, people like Jeannie and every other great coordinator out there, they want to help you to do this because they want the shots too. They'll help you to clear out. So I can often go up to Jeannie and just say, hey, Jeannie, I'm ready for the room shot. How much time we got before we can clear? She goes, oh, we're ready to clear right now. I go, great, can you help me clear? And then she'll go around and go, hey guys, I need everybody to move out of the frame, like right now. Everyone come on to this side. Perfect. Now I don't have to be the bad guy that goes and like does it. Granted, when I do it, I'm not the bad guy. I'm not gonna be
You're
a
always
jerk,
the bad guy.
Photographers are always the bad guys. But in this shot, the DJ was in, and where possible, like I can just use these objects to block him out. So I just chose a slightly different angle, and I'm actually using the tags themselves. So these little tags themselves to just block out the DJ, so he's not even visible. So in this case, I don't even need to ask him to move. I can just frame him out, basically.
Yeah. Sometimes in like a ballroom, I just ask the DJ to duck for a really quick shot so that I can get a wide and then move on.
Totally works. 5, shoot to the style.
Yeah,
This is another one of her tips that I modified a little bit.
Yeah, and we've kind of talked about this throughout this entire course about shooting for a specific style.
Yeah. So what she said was this, and her comment was very interesting. She goes, photographers always make the mistake of asking the room lights to be set to grand entrance. That's never the right decision. You always want it brighter. And I said, but Jeannie, like, we want the entrance, and then we want to be able to like pin light and create that look of how it's gonna look. And she goes, but Pi, nobody else does lighting. Like, nobody else knows lighting when they come in and shoot. So they just completely screw it up. They flash into the room and override everything. They come in and shoot it overly dark. They come in and use only ambient light and everything's dark and dreary. Or they come in and pump too much flash onto the centerpieces and leave everything black.
Yep.
So she said, if it's your team going in, yeah, by all means, go in, set the lights to grand entrance, and light each table like you guys do. That's great. But for everybody else, tell them to turn the lights up. And I'm like, how about we tell them how to do it the right way? And if there's a situation where they can't, we'll give that as an option. So that is an option. If you're in a room and it's just dark and you need a little bit of extra fill, you can have them turn up the room lights a little bit. But again, we've taught you guys so many techniques here that you should be able to get exactly what you need in the rooms with what they have set up. So walking through these images, here on the left side, we have an image that is a scene that is very dramatic, very moody, but notice that the way it's shot, we haven't crushed the blacks.
Yeah.
We haven't, killed the room and everything.
Yeah.
We have left it as a very good
Yeah,
balance.
there's rich ambient there for sure.
Absolutely. Here we go to something kind of in between where we have kind of a subtle darkened warmth in the room, but great lighting on the table itself, nice and bright. Here we have that bright editorial clean look on the right side. Now take a look at this. This is that one of the parts of the $5 million, that huge wedding that we did. This is from one of our seconds or thirds. We had like a team of 30 there on that day shooting. So this is from their camera. This is unusable. They lit the centerpiece and they shot the room to be like this dark look. That's nuts,
Yeah.
considering like what they're actually going for. To the eye, it didn't look like this. It looked more similar to something like this, where it's like bright and stuff. So shooting it like this, nobody's gonna use it. So this was my shot on the right side where we're exposing far brighter. We're using mostly natural light from the room itself.
Yeah.
And we're communicating the look with the team. We need to communicate the look with the team. I made the mistake of not telling everybody what we were going for in this scene. So a lot of the other shots that we got, some of them are very usable, some of them are like too dramatic because they're not shooting the same techniques.
Yeah.
So if more than one person is going to be shooting the details, make sure you communicate what look you're going for with each person so they all shoot with the same techniques like you've been talking about throughout this entire time. Because isn't it crazy that this is the exact same room?
When I saw this, I was like stunned. I like had to look at the centerpieces and like analyze. I was like, there's no way, and I've shot in this ballroom too. And it does look like if the lights are down and darker, it does look like the image on the left because that's the intent. It's more dramatic. But if the uplights are on and the house lights are on, then it definitely looks more like the right. Yeah.
We did neutralize the warmth a little bit in the shot on the right. Okay. 6, not using your shots because you showed too much carpet and negative space. So, big no-no again.
Yeah. Change your angle.
So we showed that
mainly
example
gonna be
here
your-
of like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
7, watch and coordinate. So notice, like we have open service doors, vendors standing around, exit signs, ladders, lights. Remember how we talked about we had nasty wood that the chandeliers were hanging from that didn't match anything? This is that wood that we were talking about, where like it doesn't fit anything in the room. That's why we shot those top-down angles where the vines were blocking it out and you just saw the chandeliers hanging. But look at this. There's a service door that's open right there. Okay? I don't know what this is on the bottom right here, but there's something there too. We also don't need this.
Yeah.
So what we're looking to do is make sure that everything in the background is closed. We showcase and frame for the best.
Yeah. I think exit signs are one of those things. It's really hard to like look out for those because you're paying attention to so many other things about the details that you're not even looking that high up. So.
And if you have a room like this where they're not draping the exit signs
Yeah.
and it's low centerpieces, if they're high centerpieces, you can use those centerpieces to frame out the exit signs usually. If they're not high, then you just end up with Photoshop. This was a big one. Stage food and drink. Publications love them. Vendors love them. Bride and groom will love them. There's no reason not to be shooting and staging like the food and drink.
Yeah.
This means that if you got a buffet, like a buffet line, like so many of our Indian clients will just have a buffet. That's probably not the kind of stuff that you stage and shoot. Like, I've never seen a publication ever show buffet shots. So if you have a buffet, if the client asks you to shoot it, fine, by all means shoot it. But we don't even shoot it unless it's a specific request to have a buffet. If they have plated food, like, great dishes, we can shoot and light it. Again, you need to use diffused light because you're getting in close to the details. An ice light works great. But if you don't have an ice light, get your flash and run it through a diffuser like an umbrella or something, and then diffuse that light so it's nice and soft. Direct flash or hard light coming down on it does not look good when you're shooting close up. Natural light's beautiful. If you can, if you have natural light to do it, it's even better. So this is examples of shooting hero shots of the dessert table and close-up details of each piece. You want to take this one?
I don't know if we've nailed this into your head enough times, but shoot cohesive, make sure everything is lit the same, and just looks very, very cohesive in camera. And then when you bring it into post, And maybe if you made a mistake, you can try and fix it with color balance or something like that to neutralize the tones, but just shoot cohesive.
I was amazed at how big of a deal this was to her.
Yeah.
Because she kept saying that she keeps having these photographers that go and shoot, and the post-production is different from image to image. Like one's black and white, one's color, one's vintage,
Yeah.
one's this, one's that, one's lit a certain way, I'm like, that's an issue? She's like, yeah, this is a constant issue. If it's not a cohesive set, I just throw it out.
Interesting. I mean, we've talked about like batch processing in so many of our Lightroom courses. So to me, it's just like, oh yeah, batch processing. Everything should look identical.
These guys aren't the culprits. It's the ones not watching the videos.
No, I know. I'm just saying. It's funny how like she would note that, but like photographers in our studio,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think about that.
This was the last one that she had, is timely teasers. She understood that, it can take time to finish out every image, but at least getting, 5-10 images of details and something that they can share immediately is greatly helpful. From a wedding vendor standpoint, especially if they are successful and working vendors, by next week, nobody cares, okay?
Yeah.
And you can see this, I have an example here. So go to any one of your weddings where they have a hashtag. This is Mike and Natalie, happily ever Lamberti. What ends up happening on the wedding day, they have like, what is it, 100 something? I can't read how small it is. 164 posts.
164.
On the wedding day, they might get 15, 20.
Yeah.
Not a ton, because people are at the wedding, but they're taking pictures. The day after the wedding, that Sunday, all of these people are posting, and they'll see 100 to 150 posts come in after, the day after, when everybody's back home and like on the internet and they have the time. So here's the interesting thing. If you can get teasers out that night to all the vendors will be publishing. The guests and everybody at the wedding, they're still excited, they're still amped up about it on Sunday or the day after the wedding. They're gonna publish, they're gonna repost, they're gonna see them, they're gonna tag. It has so much more. You might see that on Sundays your overall likes are down, but the engagement from the people that matter are gonna be significantly up. So the engagement from the actual people at the wedding are gonna be dramatically higher. By even the next week, nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
The guests have moved on, they're at the next wedding, they're doing something else, they've already shared what they wanna share. Oh, cool, they see an image, great. But it has nowhere near the same impact as delivering teasers the next day
Yeah.
and showing.
So a lot of photographers have, they'll go back after their wedding and they'll produce teasers for the couple. But why is it that they don't have that same mentality to do it for the other vendors involved in the wedding?
Yeah.
And in our studio, we have, a very simple trick for teasers is that we'll star our images. On Canons, you can star. I think on Nikons there is a way to rate, but I'm not positive. But we star our images so that when we pull them into Lightroom, they're already starred. So when you pull up a catalog, you just filter by the star and then produce those. You've already looked through. You don't have to cull through on the day of importing your images, and you have your teaser set.
Yeah. It takes like no time. 10
Yeah.
minutes, 15 minutes, throw a preset on it, brighten, do a little tweak here and there, and that's it. Sync them all and send them off.
Yeah, and we talked about relevancy before earlier on, and how an image can only be relevant for a certain period of time. Even if it's getting recirculated, it's going to be relevant only for a short period of time.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Lastly, outside of our 10, these are a few other pet peeves. Guys, be nice to your event designers, your coordinators.
yeah.
Here's what she said. She gets images all the time with large watermarks. Can't use them, won't use them. Why would somebody, just think about it logically, why would somebody take your image with a huge watermark on it and post it on their brand? Nobody's gonna ever do that. They'll credit you. They'll write it, like, just, if you're gonna watermark something, leave it small, leave it in the corner, and let them credit you. They will credit you.
Yeah.
Limitations, they're getting old. Like limiting, oh, you can't post this. I'm not gonna give you this. You must wait until it goes up onto my site first. You must do this. I have to have a blog entry. Come on, like, it should be enough for especially these other vendors that they give you a credit and a link to your work.
Yeah.
That is the way that this works now. And by all means, you wanna hold on to large watermarks and limitations, fine. Just don't expect other people to wanna work with you. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and we talked about like not being selfish in this regard, and the fact that it's everyone's work and all you're doing is taking the picture.
Yeah.
So.
And if if they don't use your picture, they have a million great pictures themselves on their own iPhone.
Or they'll hire someone else.
Or they'll hire someone else.
Oh.
Oops, I tapped it. Okay. Next, improper credits and tagging. So not including them. We talked about this earlier. That's a big thing when a coordinator is not included on a tag, not credited for their work, a vendor, that kind of stuff.
Do you know the difference between a planner and a coordinator? So planners are with the couple from start to finish. Coordinators are usually just day of coordinators that are there kind of like going through the timeline of the day. And they do get offended if you do not get it correct. So
Yeah, a wedding planner has a lot more to do with the event design
yeah.
and the overall artistic vision than, say, a coordinator who's usually there just to piece together what's going to happen on the actual day.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
I think I prefer the term event designer, like over planner, but I know they go by planners.
Yeah.
Like wedding planner, event designer. Either way, same thing. The last thing that she mentioned was like, she's like, I hate it when photographers don't have an understanding of lighting, flash, and low light.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Like, she's not a photographer, but she's like, I can't stand it. Like, she goes, I get these people that like walk into my room and just start blasting their flash. And I just want to walk over to them and scream. I'm like, I'm not going to use any of your photos. You're done. So, I think that's pretty funny.
And now you should know how to do that because we've talked about 18 different versions of doing it. So
Let's go on to the next video. We're going to talk about submitting the collection and how to let others do the work for you.